Assalamualaikum dan selamat petang semua. Selamat datang ke slot 30 minit bersama Al-Human. Untuk maklumat semua ya, program kita hari ini adalah anjuran Medical Device and Technology Center, MEDITEC, Al-Human, juga dengan kerjasama Sekolah Kejuruteraan Mekanikal UTM. Jadi bagi menjadikan program dan perhimpunan kita kali ini lebih diberkati, mari sama-sama kita mulakan dengan bacaan umum kita. Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillah. Baiklah. Berkaitan dengan topik kita pada hari ini, saya nak tanya soalan dululah kepada rakan-rakan FB kita. Apakah implant? Rasa-rasa di bahagian mana dalam badan kita boleh jumpa implant ni? Cuba jawab. Ada tak respon dekat FB? Tak apa. Di Malaysia biasanya implant banyak digunakan di gigi, jantung dan tulang. Pen jawab tu badan, apalah tu. Kan? Contohnya untuk menggantikan tulang yang patah disebabkan jatuh atau kemalangan. So saya yakin ramai rakan-rakan FB kita yang ada pengalaman kan dengan implant ni. Jadi warga UTM bertuah sebenarnya. Kita ada ramai penyelidik yang menjalankan penyelidikan dalam teknologi implant di bawah payung bidang kejuruteraan perubatan. Kebanyakan penyelidik-penyelidik ini adalah daripada Fakulti Kejuruteraan amnya dan Al-Human khasnya. Jadi salah satu perkara penting implant yang perlu ditekankan dalam teknologi implant adalah jaminan kualiti. Sebab implant digunakan untuk badan manusia kan. Jadi kita perlu pastikan implant yang telah dihasilkan itu berkualiti, sterile dan selamat kepada tubuh kita. Jadi dalam slot 30 minit bersama Al-Human hari ini, kita bertuah kerana kami akan menampilkan Prof. Dr. Muhammad Hasbullah Idris yang merupakan pensyarah daripada SKM UTM serta fellow penyelidik MEDITEC untuk berkongsi dengan kita tentang teknologi implant ini. Ingin saya berkongsi dengan rakan FB sebelum kita mula ya, ingin saya berkongsi dengan rakan FB semua tentang biografi dan latar belakang Prof. Hasbullah. Prof. Dr. Muhammad Hasbullah Idris telah dilahirkan di Klian, Intan, Perak pada 26 Disember 1962. Beliau mempunyai kelulusan PhD dalam bidang kejuruteraan mekanikal dari UTM. Beliau telah berkhidmat sebagai pensyarah selama 29 tahun bermula 2 Mei 1991. Setelah berkhidmat di industri pembuatan selama 5 tahun. Kini beliau menjawat jawatan sebagai penerusi Sekolah Kejuruteraan Mekanikal UTM. Sebelum ini, beliau pernah menjawat jawatan Ketua Jabatan Kejuruteraan Bahan, Timbalan Dekan Akademik dan Fakulti Kejuruteraan Mekanikal, Timbalan Pengarah Unit Quality UTM. Beliau juga merupakan konsultan ISO 9000 dan telah terlibat dalam bidang tersebut selama 24 tahun. Hebat, Prof. Bidang tumpuan beliau adalah pembuatan manufacturing, pemprosesan biomaterial dan kejuruteraan foundry, iaitu casting. Terlibat secara aktif dalam penyelidikan biomaterial dan pembuatan implant bermula 2008. Merupakan konsultan pembuatan kepada sebuah kilang pembuatan implant yang dibiayai oleh geran MTDC dan Bank SME. Sebelum saya serahkan slot ni kepada Prof. Hasbullah, ingin saya ingatkan kepada rakan-rakan semua untuk merekod kehadiran link yang kami berikan di ruang komen FB Live ini. Format kita untuk slot ni adalah sembang santai. Jadi anda semua dijemput untuk berkongsi pendapat, tips dan mungkin bertanya soalan ya. Caranya dengan menaip durangan komen FB Live kami. InsyaAllah Prof. Hasbullah akan berusaha menjawabnya. Dan jangan lupa untuk follow, like dan share FB kami dengan kawan-kawan semua agar info yang disampaikan pada hari ini dapat dikongsi bersama dengan rakan-rakan. Okey, jadi tanpa melengahkan masa, saya menjemput Prof. Dr. Muhammad Hasbullah Idris untuk berkongsi dengan kita tentang Processing and Quality Assurance System in Implant Manufacture. Silakan Prof.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. Pertama-tama sekali saya nak ucapkan terima kasih and thank you very much kepada Dr. Suhaini yang telah memperkenalkan saya tadi lah. Okay. So petang ni what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss on manufacture of implant dan juga quality assurance yang digunakan lah. So basically ISO 13485 untuk quality management system. Saya akan terangkan sedikit. I will explain a bit on what is medical device ataupun implant ini. Kemudian akta-akta yang terlibat sedikit, just for your information. So saya akan regulate, saya akan gunakan dua bahasa lah, right? Dan the processes involved all are basically based on my experience lah, dan juga my knowledge throughout this 29 years. Okay. Yang pertama sekali, kalau if you look at the market for medical device is very big, very huge in Malaysia. Pada tahun 2012 when I started involved sebagai consulting, buat consulting work dengan satu company, local company. So that was in 2012. So the market lebih kurang about in Malaysia, so predict tadi about 51 million. We are targeting for about what? About 8% saja daripada 8% daripada market Malaysia. Daripada 51 million, we only targeted that small companies, only 8 million. So we have got about, at the time, 185 hospitals. We are targeting about 12 hospitals. Itu pun the manufacturing pun tak cukup lah. Okay, so I will share with you some of my experience. So pertama sekali, the question is, what is medical device? So kalau tengok definition of medical device, any instrument, apparatus, implement, machines, appliance, implants, that's going to be our main topic for discussion. In vitro reagents of calibrators, software, materials, or other similar oriented articles intended by the manufacturer to be used alone or in combination for human being for the purpose of, okay, kalau kita tengok diagnosis dan sebagainya lah. What we are going to concentrate is the number 3. Okay, investigation, replacement, or modification or support of the anatomy or of physiological process. Okay, so kita akan concentrate banyak kepada itulah. What is that medical implant yang kita nak bincangkan. A bit on when we were involved in 2012, basically Act, so medical device Act ni belum lagi lah, mungkin at that time was close to establishment of the Act. Okay, now anybody who wants to get involved dengan medical device ini, so there is a regulatory system yang ada in place that is based on the ACTA or the Act. There is Medical Device Authority Act, that is 2012, so-called the Act 738. And the other one is Medical Device Authority 2012 Act 737. These are all available the internet lah, you can. So these two acts actually provides authority atau give power to the Minister of Health as well as one authority yang dipanggil Medical Device Authority. Okay, apa kerja dia? What is the functions of this Medical Device Authority di bawah Ministry of Health? Is to regulate manufacturers. Okay, manufacturers as well as AR. AR ni ialah authorized representative. Normally, kalau you want to export, you're going to use AR lah. Okay, importers as well as distributors. So we import from overseas, so kita ada importers, and then these importers ada distributors. So it's also to regulate medical device users, walaupun users is normally patient in the hospital or at the hospital, tapi yang direct users sebenarnya adalah doktor. Okay. Dan juga CAB. CAB adalah Conformity Assessment Body. So normally assessment body adalah kalau di overseas tu normally ada body-body tertentu. So untuk kita punya assessment body kebanyakannya, most of it done by this NDA. Okay. A bit on because we are talking about manufacturers. So out of many, there's now the list AR, CAB, all those things. Kita concentrate on what does the Medical Device Act 737 on 2012 says about manufacturers' obligation. So there are Medical Device Act 737 2012 Part 2. If you look at this Act, the Part 2, Chapter 1, Number 4, so it says that manufacturer's obligation, a manufacturer shall, this when in Act, bila dipanggil shall, maknanya you must lah. Okay. Manufacturer obligation, a manufacturer shall ensure that a medical device conform to the prescribed essential principles of safety performance. Kedua is manufactured in accordance with good GMP and any written directive issued by the authority. Normally in this case kita pakai ISO 1345 lah normally, but GMP is also a practice beside ISO 9000. And also is labeled, packaged and marked in accordance with the prescribed manner. So these are the things that obligation, if you want to be a manufacturer, then you have to be obliged into these three basically obligation yang kita buat. Okay, I've got some exposure on apa ni, bila kita start the company. Before we start the company, we are exposed to we are called into operation theatre. So kita ada hand surgery kat sini for example. So kalau tengok these are all implants yang kita panggil buttress DCT. So ini adalah actual yang saya ada dalam operation theatre, di mana seorang student ni umur 15 tahun jatuh motor, broke dia punya dekat wrist ni. So ini dia nak pasang the implant. So you can see how they open it and lalu sekali jahit lah. So kalau kita tengok ada dua implant itu, satu lagi ialah yang kita tengok macam wire tu ialah kita panggil K wires. K wires. The implant range, the diameter range from 3 mm and above lah. Depends on dia punya function. Okay, kalau tengok, these are some of the implants yang kita gunakan. Okay, dalam operation, very simple operation. The other one is knee surgery. So this example, this is kalau tengok the team very heavy, macam tadi mungkin ada 3 orang je, but now ada ramai kat sini. So the problem with implants yang ada sekarang ialah the size of the implants, especially knee for example, atau especially hip for example, okay, humerus dan sebagainya, based on Western anthropometric data. Apa maksud anthropometric data? Anthropometric data adalah size kita lah, macam lengan kita berapa panjang, tinggi kita, all those things lah. So This probably based on my experience kita do dalam operation theater, we look at bila dia open dulu. Dia open tengok the size and then baru tengok size yang dekat dengan size western countries lah. So to me it is very important or crucial now for us to have our own anthropometric data, and based on those anthropometric data kita develop kita punya own for our own people. So that actually what pushed me into this research or this area. Kalau tengok kat sini dia potong, kemudian tu dia akan ukur lah dan tengok selalunya based on western ni kita ambil yang small. Okay, unless kalau your body build is bigger than Malays or Asian people, then probably either use medium ataupun large. Okay, those are my teams lah. Yang ada 3 orang tu sebenarnya my team yang bahagian kecil. So it's very good experience. And then based on research, we have gone through a good exercise whereby kita work with one local company, Sendirian Berhad. Nama dia bukan local Sendirian Berhad, it's a local company, Sendirian Berhad company, which actually manufacture. And then we work with Department of Orthopedics, USM Hospital Kementerian. Kalau tengok the photo kat situ, one of the doctors that we discussed. And then at the time so-called Faculty of Mechanical Engineering UTM. So we are looking at what? Department of Orthopedic USM ni is about input on based on patient requirement lah. Dia macam data whatever. Kalau dia patah macam ni, how big, all those things lah. Based on that data, the Faculty of Mechanical Engineering will translate into design. Okay, concept, design concept, everything, then we test, do the analysis, and whatever comes out from that analysis, we give it to this company to manufacture. Normally, at that time, the manufacturing approach yang kita pakai is machining. Okay, so we managed to secure from MTDC grant about 3.746 million, and back to back support by SME Bank 2.77 million. So that project started the investment, well, I would say about 6 million. Okay. This is basically the process. You can have many processes sebenarnya. Nanti saya akan tunjuk some of the processes yang we have gone through untuk produce. But this is very conceptual yang kita nak ni. For example, as I said just now, surgical data from hospitals and surgeons. We are now talking with university hospitals, so that when they are in the group, so we can always get the data. So based on the data, kita can translate into appropriate design using CAD analysis or FEA and then CAM. So either sama ada you from this data yang kita dapat, kita masuk dalam CAD punya software. So kita rebuild by the models, and then based on that, kita akan download to CNC milling, normally CNC milling. Okay. If you look at ISO 13485, this is also one of the concern, ISO 13485, macam mana you translate or download the data to from the CAD to CAM ni lah, ataupun from the CNC. So that's one approach that normally people do lah. Tapi masalah dengan manufacturing based on machining ni, it comes with bulk rod alloys, itu katakanlah 316L for titanium or cobalt chrome alloys. So you have a big chunk of metal, and then you machine to get, for example, like this size. So you have to have a big chunk of metals, and then you machine it. So the issue going to be there's a lot of waste and time consuming. Okay, so it takes few days for you to finish. The other approach that we can do is through so-called the rapid manufacture. Similarly, from the data yang kita dapat, Based on the data, so kita use check, do the analysis, and then from there kita gunakan rapid prototyping to make the pattern, and then from there, from the patterns, we can use one technique yang kita panggil dia investment casting technique, which is a very precision casting method. So you can actually modify the properties of the product yang you produce from casting approach. So in this case, what you're trying to do is you cast, for example, this is the product yang kita nak buat. Kita cast to near net shape, probably larger, about 3-4 mm, and then you machine from there. So you save a lot of materials, and then probably you save a lot of time. Okay, so normally people do, this is one of the process yang digunakan dalam producing implants. Okay, and mostly people are using machining. These are the machines when we started our project. So kita pakai German machine, in this case DMG CNC 3-axis, we have got 3-axis machine. We use for DCP, dynamic compression plate. Kalau you patah, for example, here, okay, you patah your lengan ni, and then you put the plate on, okay, and then screw it. So that implant is going to be there for the rest of your life, unless we have second surgery. Okay, that's another research yang kita buat lah, mana kita gunakan material lain, so that this material will degrade once your bone dah heal. Okay, so we have got another machine, DMG juga, German machine, CNC 5-axis. This is for custom made for manufacturing of mega processes lah. For example, you know, heat, for example. Okay, we have done a lot of research on machining, how to get the surface right, okay, surface finish, because that's important in implants. Okay. Beside that, kita ada satu lagi yang kita panggil Sugami, CNC autolathe. This is very dedicated untuk produce screws. Okay, dedicated untuk producing screw for the implants. Sugami. So you import or you buy from 316L ataupun metal suppliers. Normally it comes about 8 mm diameter, 3 meter long. So you tengok kat situ dia punya platform tu, 3 meter long, then it goes automatically lah. So sama ada buat cortical screw ke. So this machine is capable of doing that. And finally, bila mana you dah machine and screw, sebenarnya ada satu lagi proses yang kita pakai, kita panggil dia mechanical tumbler. So we put all the implants into a tumbler, so they rotate dengan abrasive dalam satu bekas tu. This abrasive will actually clean up all these burrs. Bila you machine, they always burst, halus metal di implant kita tu, yang semi finish implant. So bila dia roll tu, the abrasive will cut all those burrs, so that you can get a clean implant. Then only you go for lateral polishing, chemical ataupun lateral polishing lah. This is where you got the challenge dalam machining ialah to get, example, 0.4 mm surface finish, micron. Then only bila you pergi for lateral polishing, it goes down at 0.2 mm. So you have to get a very mirror finish, especially the balls. So these are some of the treatment, and then you kena buat clean up or you polish the implant. This machine we bought dekat Switzerland, so we have got some problem with it. So I went there for 1 week, study, and then come back and then settle masalah ni. Okay, this is a typical implant manufacturer yang kita buat. So kita tengok kat sini, the layout. So kita ada store kat sini. So this is the area where all these CNC machine just now, DMD, the 3 axis and 5 axis. This is kita punya screw making dia ni, sugami tadi. So after that, you akan masuk kepada this area, tumbler. Kita ada 3 tumbler at that time. Okay. Then only you pergi for electropolishing. So based on this electropolishing, then you go for the quality control inspection. So this is very critical. Okay. So for small company, this is a setup yang kita gunakan. Okay. Once you have all this setup, then can you only apply for ISO 13485. Sebab ISO 13485 dia akan tengok kat sini lah semua ni. Alright. So that's basically if you want to go for simple or small manufacturing, tapi ini pun 6 million this is 6 million setup, tak termasuk capital. Capital is different, but this is only 6 million setup, just machine as well as that plate. Okay, so these are some of the products yang kita produce lah. Kita test. Kalau you tengok yang ni nampak dia macam orang tua, tapi actually the doctor dia lah one of the surgeon, experts dalam orthopedic. Dan implant yang kita produce ni contohnya this is the DCP, okay, dynamic compression plate with 7 holes, 5 mm thick. Okay, dan kita implantkan dia, kita test dulu di atas tulang kambing at that time. Okay, these are the screws yang kita produce. So you tengok walaupun dia 5 mm stainless steel, tapi follow the profile of the apa ni, amazing, walaupun dia very thick, you tahu 316L stainless steel keras, tapi bila you pin or screw on the bone, dia ikut the profile. That's how kalau you plant on your bone ni, dia akan ikut. This is the K wire saya sebut tadi. So it comes 3 meter and we cut. So dia ada dia punya sharpness ni tu. So kita modify some of the machine so that you can get the angle. Ada 3 shapes, 3 mata kat depan tu. 1 mata tapi you have to grind 3 places to get that sharpness. Okay, this is where it is being used lah, yang saya tunjuk dari awal-awal tadi. Okay. This is the first product yang kita buat. So this is the first product. Kalau you tengok, memang crude lah, proximal humerus yang kita produce in this for an 18-year-old girl di Kedah. So masa tu kita tak ada lagi rapid prototyping. Kita buat dengan kayu je untuk dapat dia punya shape. And then kita produce dengan stainless steel. These are based on doctors punya specification. So those are the things that kita implant. This is experimental. Tapi malangnya this girl died lah, but not because of this, but because of lung cancer. So this is basically a bone cancer patient. So we ask the permission from the family, can we take it up again? So kita take up, that's why kita ada, kita masih simpan. This is experimental proximal humerus. So these are the things that kita ni. The other one is 15-year-old student juga di Johor Bahru. So we design for him, Danny. Dan this is a doctor, kalau you tengok kat sini, bone cancer kita design juga. We design and then come out with the design and adalah macam ada twisting effect, and those are the things that kita analyze based on that software. Okay, after saying all those processes, after saying all those work yang we have done, so I would like to go into quality assurance systems yang normally pakai. So for a manufacturer, for example, for a manufacturer yang GMP reference to very general, okay. Sebenarnya tak pakai pun, tapi can be used kalau you ada tu bagus juga, because it give you some sense, feel of quality assurance. The most related ialah ISO 9001 2015. But I'm telling you, if you look at ISO 13485 2016, that's the third edition of ISO 13485. The most related yang very similar ialah ISO 9001 2008. So if you are expert in ISO 9001 2008, it very much resembles atau very much the same dengan ISO 13485. The only thing is, the difference is because ISO 13485 is very dedicated to medical device, so ada some apa ni courses yang dalam tu memang dia nak disebut very explicitly about medical device. For example, you can ada file, okay, for certain type of medical device. Okay, for example, like implant, BCP just now for the bone, for example. So you have, for example, 5 holes. You ada 7 holes. You have 9 holes, for example. So these under one family. So you boleh duduk dalam satu file. So dalam documentation, dia memang specify all this. Okay. So I show you apa yang ada pada ISO 13485 ni, just for your apa ni. So, but before that, many people look at ISO ni lah something that is a standard that you need to follow. Agreed, in a sense betul. Tapi saya cuma nak tunjukkan you bahawa look at the bold letter itu yang I put it there. This I take it from ISO 9000 2015 definition. So dia kata a written set of standards which describes and define the basic elements of the quality system. So what is basically basic elements of quality system? Itu dia punya issue. Alright, the rest, the standard is only describe or define that element. How are you going to do it? How are you going to control it? So you have to control through document, for example. You can control if the product is not up to the standard. How do you control? So those are the things that mentioned in ISO 13485. Okay, give you some overview lah. Okay, very simple overview. So ISO 13485 process yang ada, scope. Sama lah scope lah. This is for certification. For your information, certification is done by MDA lah. So dia tak macam ISO 9001 2015 whereby certification is done by third party auditors or third party audit or certificate screening, third party certification body, for example like CIRI, UV Rehland, which a German company, a German origin, tetapi berpusat di Hong Kong. And then you have the AGS, Singapore based. You have the Moody, you have the Lloyd. Normally CIRI mah, kita pakai CIRI normally lah. You tengok dia ada scope. Scope ni just nak mention dalam certification tu apa yang termasuk dalam unit certification. So normative reference, that's the second clause. Disebut tentang fundamentals. What are the fundamentals and vocabulary yang diused dalam standard, which you have to refer to ISO 9000 2015 CMS. So it goes back to that yang definition yang saya ambil tadi lah. And the third one is terms and definitions. So a lot of definitions yang ada dalam tu. Okay. And then the most important ialah from the 4th to 8th. Okay. Clause number 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Apa tu clause number 4 yang very important is the quality management system, where you have to have the system right and you control it, the quality base lah. And then apa yang ada dalam tu? So you ada management responsibility. The first thing yang very important dalam any system is management, where you need commitment from management. So dalam clause 4 ni dia specify the commitment of the management. So I always, when I did all this ISO 9000, for companies, I told them the first thing you have to make sure that your management is committed. Kalau you tak committed, forget it. Okay? So dalam management responsibility clause 5 ni, they mention about commitment and define and describe how to show commitment. Okay? For example, dia kena adakan quality policy, quality objective, dia kena ada management review, and then dia kena ada like responsibility, authority dan sebagainya lah. Macam kita call it job description, something like this. Okay, and then the management has to appoint yang dipanggil representative. Okay, then you go into resource. So any system, in any companies, you have to have people. So dalam case ni dia ada people, dia mention about people, dia mention about human resource. They mentions about infrastructure. You need to have infrastructure, and then you need to have a correct environment, clean room, for example, for ISO for medical device manufacture. They specify very explicitly that it, but general. And then the number 7, the clause 7 is product realization. So mainly it talks about how you're going to control production. What are to be taken into consideration. So saya akan tunjukkan nanti dia punya tu very simple for you to get some idea. And once you have that production run, so you need to measure. Measure means monitor lah. Okay? This is normal in any system or any organization, be it service or manufacturing. Okay, so you need to monitor, you need to measure. Once you monitor, you get the data out. Once you get the data, then you need to analyze. Based on the analysis, you need to do improvement. Okay, so in any systems or any organization, so these are basically from clause 4 until clause 8. These are what we so-called basic elements of the quality system. As if you were to control these 4 until 8, you should be able to produce product that meets the requirements of, for example, like kalau medical device, you should get what was specified. So itu dia punya ni lah. Okay. Then dalam itu dia akan explain lah how to control the blah blah blah, for example. I give you very nutshell of ISO 13485 for your So I show you the system kat mana ISO 9000 control. Ya, Okay, I'm trying to translate the standard yang tadi tu, the standard into actual dalam sistem manufacturing lah. It start off with customer requirement. Definitely in any business, you have to start off with customer requirement. For example, doctors yang kita kata data tadi lah. So we got all the data in, okay, how much, how many they want, when they want, all these are falls under 7.2, that is product realization. Saya akan tunjukkan. It spread out. Tapi saya akan tunjukkan macam mana dia begini lah. So from the customer requirement, so you go into design and development. Okay, so you design, especially custom-made products, for example. As I said just now, anthropometric data and different anthropometric data from one person to another. So kalau biasa, people also say personalized implant, for example, just for that person. So dalam case ni, kita tengok ada 10 dalam design dia, dia punya quality control very huge, very stringent. Kita tengok starting from 7.3.2, kalau kita tengok sini number dia, this is clauses, the sub-clause. 7.3.2 nanti 7.3.10. Okay, 7.3.2 tu ialah planning, design development planning. And then 7.3.3 itu ialah input, design and development input. And then 3.4 output. Okay. And then 3.5 you review. 3.6 you verify. 3.7 you validate. Kemudian tu boy 3.8 tu macam mana I mentioned earlier on, just now you macam mana you transfer unit design tu daripada CAM tu kepada unit machine. Okay, and then 3.9, 7.3.9, whatever changes you do masa design development, you need to keep record. And 7.3.10, it is about files, as saya sebut tadi lah. Okay, that I mentioned earlier on, the files for certain products and family. Okay, this is one file, so that they can actually trace. And then from there, barulah you go for approval. Okay, one it is approved, meet requirement, so you go for manufacturing. And then if not, then you have to modify the design. Okay. Dalam manufacturing, I mentioned to you, this is a classic example of what we have gone through just now. You cut, you get from your suppliers, okay, you punya stock, you cut to size, for example. Macam plate tadi, you look at the plate, the 5mm plate, it comes as a 3 meter long bar, then you have to cut to size. Kalau you nak 5 holes, different size lah, 7 holes different size. So you have to cut, then only you go for machining. At that time, kita juga jig and fixtures, kita design our own. And then you go for mechanical tumbling, as I said just now, and then chemical polishing. Okay, based on that, that's normal, that's normal. Kalau you tengok, bila you check, sama ada reject, okay, kalau tengok ni ada reject, and then ada rework. So dalam ISO 9000, di bawah clause 8, and measurement, analysis and improvement, bawah clause 8, very specific to 8.3.4, disebut the rework. How are you going to rework it? Okay. So and then dalam production, you tengok sini punya banyak dia punya ni, bukan dia sampai 7.5.5, dia sampai 7.511, tengok kat sini. So disebut tentang control of production, macam mana nak control production, you have to have document, okay, you have to have procedures, dimensions juga. And then concern about cleanliness, how you control cleanliness, as I said just now, describe and define. So dalam 7.5.2, for example, they define macam mana cleanliness yang you nak, how are you going to do it, but in general terms. Itu juga 753, 754, kalaulah you are service provider, for example. Okay. Okay. Before that, kalau you tengok di bawah 7.4, okay, 7.4 ni purchasing. So dia ada 3. Okay. Ini ialah 7.4.1 ialah purchasing process. 7.4.2 ialah purchasing information. Ini 7.4.3 lah verify. So once you receive you punya stock for example, then you need to verify whether that 316L the size okay dan sebagainya. If not, you reject lah. So they mention itu. In fact, you have to evaluate your suppliers. So kalau you tengok kat sini, ISO 9000 dia bukan saja suruh you control production, okay, tapi juga post production. So you tengok di bawah, you tengok kat sini preservation 7.511 ni preservation. Once you produce it, you tak boleh letak merata-rata dan sebagainya. You have to, kalau medical device, you have to pack, probably sterilize and keep it in place yang clean dan sebagainya. So you see ISO 9000, they control from the very beginning, customers, design, even purchasing, lepas tu manufacturing they control, they describe and define macam mana you nak control, even equipment you pakai, control for monitoring and measuring equipment, calibration, okay, you need to calibrate you punya equipment supaya what result you get from that measuring exercise is true. And then they mention how you control kalau produk tu tak conform to requirement. So these are the things. In order to do that, as I said just now, ada human resource, so they specify talent ataupun kalau dia tak berapa bagus, you have to send for training. Okay, you kena buat training need analysis, and then based on this training need analysis, you need to send for trainings or any other form of to increase dia punya, to enhance dia punya capability lah. And then infrastructure and the job work environment. So you tengok ini contamination control. So they specify macam tu. Okay. Dan lepas tu kalau you tengok all this semua ni, it goes back to the customer, whether you meet the customer requirement or not. And then doesn't stop there. You juga kena monitor. Monitor. Dia suruh you dapat feedback. Dia suruh you collect feedback. Complain, macam mana you handle complaint. Okay. And then respond to regulatory authorities, contohnya MDA for example. And then you have to have every year internal audit. Siapa yang boleh buat internal audit? Okay. And then you have to monitor you punya process, the whole machinery, the whole process you have to monitor. And then you have to monitor the punya product. Berapa banyak reject? Why it is rejected? Semua tu dia specify dalam ISO 13485. Then based on all this data, you analyze the data. Based on this analysis, you tengok kalau normal manufacturing ni dia ada daily production meeting, lepas tu dia ada monthly management meeting. These are things that specify in the standard, saying that kita di bawah 5.6 management review. Di mana ada management review, kita ada input agenda lah. And then output, based on the output, apa tindakan yang perlu diambil. So that goes into continual quality improvement, di mana they specify di bawah 8.5. So the corrective action that you have to take, and then preventive action. So if you look at ISO 9000-13485, it started from the customer requirement, and then you design, and then they control the design, they control the purchasing, because purchasing you need suppliers. If you have good suppliers, then you got good product. Itulah dia ni. And then you control manufacturing, you control selepas manufacturing, and then all the feedback from the customers, so that you can improve. So basically, that's are all 4, 5, 6. So these are all kita panggil dia. These are the things that kita panggil dia, inilah quality management system, which dia portray dalam bentuk dokumen. So nanti you tengok kalau you go for clause 4, dia ada sebut apa dokumen yang perlu ada. So basically that's ISO 9000 13485. Sorry, ISO 13485. for medical device. So you tengok all the processes. So but these processes is basically duduk kat sini. But what is ISO 13485 concerned is the system, not just the process. So that you can get a quality product which meet the customer requirement. So I think that's about all I want to talk about this afternoon. So probably I throw back to Dr. Surani. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof, for a very interesting presentation. Okay, so from this presentation, I can say that through complete testing, proper setup and documentation, we will definitely be able to produce implant commercially and penetrate the market. Is it true, Prof?
Yes, and then just for your information, if you want to be a manufacturer, you need to have this ISO 13485. You cannot run away from it. Okay, but to have this ISO 13485, you have to have your setup ready.
Okay,
Okay.
alright, Prof. So, okay, we are now in a Q&A session. I'm sure there will be people in the audience who would like to raise some questions. Okay, so I would like to open up the session now to question from the audience. So, untuk sebarang soalan, komen ataupun pendapat, please share your thoughts in our FB Live comment box. So, Prof. Hasbullah will try to answer your question. Okay, Prof. We have one question here.
Okay. Disebut getting a new medical product. Okay, you read. I'll
Saya baca, Prof. Okay.
okay.
Getting a new medical product made locally to market seems a bit hard due to these costly and lengthy certification processes. Are there any initiative by the government to support the innovative medical product development by local researchers, innovators or manufacturers? Okay, thanks in advance. Thank you, Dr. Snida. Okay. Silakan, Prof.
I would say if I were to say that there's no initiative, probably it's not appropriate lah. There are a lot of initiative. In fact, dalam our government planning, medical device is one of the niche area that the government is emphasized on. Okay? The emphasis is on medical device lah. So definitely there are a lot of initiatives. The only thing is on the ground when we talk to manufacturers, and kita ada local manufacturers lah. Contohnya OSA, for example. So the problem is the ecosystem is not, I would say, it's not very complete for you to from research, manufacture, as well as pushing it to the market. Okay, so betul lah, it's very costly. In fact, now OSA, for example, one of the company doing implant, spending dia punya ni untuk biomedical, biocompatible ni di UK. They're spending about 500,000 untuk that test as well as mechanical test lah. So kita ada sebenarnya di UTM dan mechanical test pun kita ada sebenarnya di UTM dan banyak engineering school di Malaysia. The only thing is whether it is enough ataupun tidak, atau the procedure is there ataupun tidak untuk kita bring up to. Okay. Fortunately, we have been discussing this. Now we are starting the initiative lah. On our part, the government probably dah buat sama ni. Dia mungkin tak tahu, kita tak tahu detail lah. There are some bits and pieces. But now we have formed a task force at our level. We are going to do this and then tengok apa yang kurang so that we can develop this ecosystem right for us to produce our local implant. Yeah, that's the initiative now. So I answer that question.
Okay, Prof. Terima kasih. Sebenarnya saya pun ada satu soalan juga nak tanya Prof. Okay, who really owns the implant? Sebenarnya who really need to do quality assurance? Is it industry or educational institution or doctors or hospital committee?
Who really?
Needs to do quality assurance, to
Who
apply
really
the
need?
quality assurance?
To me, kalau the patients don't know much about the implant. You implant apa benda pun dia terima juga. So it is the doctors that to me is the end user lah, because dia decide you nak ambil brand nama Striker, you nak ambil from Johnson Johnson, you nak ambil from Asculap, or you nak ambil from China, or you nak ambil from Malaysia itself. It's up to the doctor. Tapi before it goes to the doctor, there are governing body yang to make sure that this implant is correctly and appropriately or safely produced. Okay, itu yang saya tunjuk awal-awal tu, Akta 738. 738 give authority atau power kepada MDA or the Ministry of Health, and then empowerment to MDA, okay, Medical Device Authority, to regulate this, to make sure that whatever goes to the hospital or whatever goes to the market is safe. Okay, kalau ditanya saya ISO 13485, siapa yang apa ni ataupun quality assurance yang very important ialah is the governing body, the governing body that actually govern the quality. So once you have this, you are supposed to produce a quality product or that meets the requirement. The doctors only tengok, okay, well, this is good, and then you can use. Okay, masa installation is different matter, but apa yang ada, kalau you dah dapat example CE or product certificate, you dah ada ISO 13485, you probably have got it from NDA. So meaning to say you can push to the market already lah. Now in fact we are talking to Indonesia now. Indonesia is kita dah pergi ke Indonesia and talk to them, the hospital. They're really interested in doing this. Kita now talking to Greece. This is from Libya. So they're interested. So we are trying to, if we have got all this, then we can always market it, not just to Malaysia, probably especially Muslim countries. That's what we want to do. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Terima kasih untuk jawapan tadi. So, Alhamdulillah again, thank you so much Prof for the interesting presentation. I'm sure with these tips and info, we will then all benefit from it. Okay, jadi itu je. Terima kasih kepada semua pendengar FB dan YouTube kami. Terima kasih kerana mendengar, berkongsi pendapat dan bertanya soalan sepanjang program ini ya. Jangan lupa untuk merekod kehadiran anda semua di link yang telah kami berikan di ruangan FB komen kami. Saya juga nak terima kasihlah kepada rakan sepasukan saya, iaitu Encik Zulfazli Zakaria daripada MEDITEC, Encik Azizul Azman, MEDITEC, dan Encik Muhammad Faizrin daripada SITC. Okay, kerana bekerja keras di belakang tabir untuk memastikan program ini berjalan dengan lancar. Okay, terima kasih semua. Jadi jumpa lagi di slot 30 minit iHuman pada masa akan datang. Jom klik like, share dan follow FB kami dan YouTube kami iaitu UTM iHuman untuk dapatkan lebih maklumat berkenaan iHuman serta program-program yang akan dijalankan pada masa akan datang. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat petang semua.